Hey, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, what's happening with America's farm industry? I'm always interested in it simply because I like to eat. And I know, but I know there's some hard-working farmers out there that make things happen. One of my favorite guests to have on because she is so knowledgeable when it comes to American farming is Brianna Sagdol of beefnews.org. Bree, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show.
Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate you having me back on, and especially at such a prescient moment when we have a bill that's coming before the full Appropriations Committee this next Tuesday. So we really need people to listen in and make those phone calls. So I'm excited to talk to you about this bill today.
Okay, so now I was we were speaking offline briefly, and one of the things that I had mentioned, Brianna, and we won't go into detail with this, but some of the things that were making its way into the One Big Beautiful Bill, or did make its way, I guess, into the One Big Beautiful Bill with the Chinese buying farm. Actually, that wasn't in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Buying Chinese farmland and all this kind of stuff, and I was pretty excited about that. And I'm like, okay, great. We're starting to push back some. But then you reminded me of a screw worm issue. I wasn't with cows, and we're still getting so much of our meat from other countries, particularly Mexico. And then we have this issue with Monsanto rearing its ugly head. And I just want to give you the floor to talk about what's happening with America's farmers that we should be concerned about, that we should know about, that we should be calling our congressmen and our senators about.
Thank you, Carl. Honestly, maybe we should set up a weekly show because the breadth and depth of what is happening to rural America right now is just so broad. I don't think I can break it all down into a tiny little segment. I am very happy to announce that Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, has again shut the southern border for live imports of cattle and bison coming up through Mexico. But it is important to understand that due to open borders under the Biden administration, the biological barrier was breached in 2022 with now millions of new hosts. There is this parasite called New World screwworm that has essentially made its way up through the migrant caravan route, and it is knocking at our southern border. The last time the United States had to deal with this in the 1960s and 70s, wow, it cost ranchers billions of dollars. So I'm glad that she's closed this border, but it is something that we really need to pay close attention to and stay on top of, because we really cannot afford to fight this at our borders again.
Bree, okay, you literally just broke up right in the middle of that. So to the best of your ability, try to keep your equipment still. If you could just repeat what you just said about closing the borders and the Secretary of Agriculture, what she finally did.
Okay. So we're very grateful that the Secretary of Agriculture has again closed our southern border, because we know that we cannot afford to fight it should it get to our border once again. We're hoping that this administration will fight for U.S. farmers and ranchers and push New World screwworm south of Mexico.
Okay, now when you say that we can't afford to fight it, you're speaking of American cattle ranchers, I assume, and give us a sense of what that means. You can, I mean, American cattle ranchers will just be screwed. The industry will die. I mean, what does that mean? Because that sounds pretty dire.
Sure. So it cost the United States billions in economic loss, and this was in the 1960s and 70s. So by today's standards, it would cost probably tens of billions to deal with it. The problem is that it's not limited to just livestock. New World screwworm infects human beings, the family dog. deer, elk, moose, pretty much any warm-blooded animal. So it's not just dire and economic devastation for cattle ranchers, but for our entire population of warm-blooded individuals. So.
Okay, so I'm literally trying to find, and forgive me, I'm literally trying to find a text that you sent. Actually, let me read from your X account, if you don't mind. Now, last week I was hoping to get a hold of you. Then you were out vacationing with your family, which is a great thing. I'm not there yet, so I appreciate that. So she was like, "Hey, I'm vacationing. Don't bother me." Just kidding. She wasn't that rude. But she did send me some of her her posts on X, and I want to share this, and I want you to break this down, because we're under the impression now, with the Trump administration in office, the American farmers are hunky dory. Everything is in good shape. We're moving in the right direction. One thing that you posted on X: breaking Trump administration continues Biden era push to seize private property and determine who can buy, sell, own in the future. In Tennessee, we have passed laws that prohibit ownership, that require divestment. Key word here to remember, you put in parentheses, that impose strict penalties. So I want to get back to the screwworm momentarily, because that's another X post you have. But that shocked me, that X post. Like, what's happening? What is it that this Secretary of Agriculture is doing, where she's continuing the Biden administration policies to seize private property?
Yes, so this is being sold sort of under the auspices of seizing agricultural land from the Chinese Communist Party. And naturally, there's, concern among the population of Americans that the CCP could be near our military bases, and certainly they have bought some property around our military bases. This is absolutely a concerning issue. It's just also important to understand, one, Canada is actually the largest foreign owner of U.S. agricultural lands. I think the CCP ranks down at the number 5. And most importantly, the body of authority that this administration is attempting to expand is called the Committee for Foreign Investments in the United States. This is a broad swath of authority that exists centrally under the Treasury. It's interesting. Marjorie Taylor Greene today just posted on X about the Genius Act and how it's essentially building the infrastructure for a digital monetary system, digital ID. Well, this body of authority also exists under the Treasury, and it is essentially centralizing authority that's extrajudicial, extra constitutional. And it's very specific to who can buy, sell, and own. And in this case, it would expand definitions of when the government can seize property to agricultural land, which according to the USDA is about 97% of the U.S. land mass. So what's important to understand about this committee and about this authority is that it's not limited to foreign nationals or foreign entities. It also applies to U.S. citizens. So, for example, when J6 occurred, it was under this body of authority that the Biden administration began freezing bank accounts, for example, sort of depersoning people. I just think it's probably not the best idea to expand this body of authority, not knowing who may be in office next.
Okay, now that makes sense to me. Let me ask you this though. I mean, I don't want the CCP owning farmland, and I got to be honest with you, totally, which is why I love having you on. I was totally oblivious that Canada made up had the largest or owned the largest amount of agricultural land in the United States. That absolutely blows me away. I mean, although they're not an enemy, that seems insane to me. So, good thing. I really don't want the CCP owning farmland inside of the United States. I don't trust them. But then again, there's this story is more intricate than we've been led to believe, because this could potentially hurt American farmers too. We only have 30 seconds left in this block. I want to get back to this. Obviously, I want to get back to the screwworm issue. I'm speaking of Brianna Sagdahl of beefnews.org, beefnews.org. Anything you want to know about farming, what's happening with ranchers and the farming industry inside of the United States, how American farmers are threatened, I encourage you to follow her on X for one. Bree, real quick, what's your X account? I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. Can't do it quick enough.
It's at Brianna9. And also, when we begin talking about this bill coming up on Tuesday, I would direct people to doortofreedom.org. We have a ton of information on that website tonight as well.
Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all of your continued support. So Mike has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. Mike is offering the best deal on his Percale bed sheets. You can get a set for as low as $24.98 right now. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive $100 in free digital gifts. Man, you can't beat that with a bat. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, I don't spell it like the communists, to receive the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $24.98. Order now or call 800-858-0263. Don't forget, use the promo code Carl. All right, welcome back again. I'm joined with my guest, Brianna Sagdahl. And actually, for the purpose of this interview, we're going to get into something different. I appreciate Bree coming on and just kind of laying the foundation, because one of the things that I was somewhat happy about was actually, I am happy about, I don't want CCP buying farmland in the United States of America, but it's not as simple as that. And so she's the person that you want to follow on X to learn more about this thing. But something else that she texted me about, and I'm happy she's on to speak about this as well. And this is a huge issue that's coming down the pike. It's what we started this interview talking about. But basically, Monsanto Bayer has snuck in Section 453 into the Interior and Environmental Appropriations Bill that will effectively shield it and all other chemical manufacturers from liability that prevents lawsuits for cancer associated with glyphosates at the federal level. And actually, where Bree would want you to go is where you can find out more about this, doortofreedom.org, doortofreedom.org. She's a senior policy fellow there, as well as beefnews.org. Okay, so Monsanto, and Bree, I got to be honest with you. I remember hearing about this issue with Monsanto and Roundup, so on, et cetera, causing cancer, doing a lot of harm to Americans that were using the product. And I got to be honest with you, initially, I did not buy into some of the things that I was hearing. I had a cousin that was big into this, reading it, talking to me about it all the time. And then I mean, there's some companies, sadly, that do want to make money. Listen, I'm a capitalist. I don't like to unnecessarily bash institutions, corporations, so on, et cetera. But this, I guess, isn't a good thing if you know your product is doing something that is harmful to human beings.
Well, so this bill in particular would prevent funding for the EPA to basically do its job. And so, regardless of what's happened in the past, it's important to understand this is a rider on an appropriations bill. And before people get furious with their members of Congress and start making allegations,
Bree, for some reason you're breaking up on us again. So just start over if you would.
Okay, hold on. Just start from the top.
Yes, please.
Let me see. Maybe I can switch my hotspot to my mobile hotspot. I'm so sorry.
No
I hope
worries.
this
So,
doesn't take you guys a bunch of time to.
all right. So it's all right. We're speaking to Brianna Sagdahl from doortofreedom.org, doortofreedom.org. And obviously, there's a big issue that is mounting in Congress that she's here to speak about. And if I can get my phone open, I'll be able to talk about it just momentarily while she gets her sound worked out. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, you talk about, is already helping to get the word out, and an amendment is coming to remove this section. We just need public support. So that's what I'm here to do. And what we're speaking of, Bree, let's see if your sound is there, because I'd love you to take it away, because you can explain this stuff so much better than I can, as I'm trying to read it on the fly. So let's go right back to what you were saying.
Okay, hopefully this is better. So
Much better.
Great. So Section 453 is a rider on the House Appropriations Bill, which is HR 9043. It is maybe a paragraph and a half, but essentially what it would do is it would prevent the EPA and even potentially the CDC and the HHS from using any funds to act on or regulate pesticide, insecticide, rodenticide, essentially poison and chemical manufacturers. And even if there is evidence that comes to light in between essentially a 15-year review cycle. So the way that this is regulated at the federal level is under a federal law called FIFRA, which is the Federal Insecticide, Fertilizer, and Rodenticide Act. What's most important to understand here is that federal law preempts or supersedes states' rights. Okay. Right. So without getting into the weeds too much, my pun there, it's important to know that EPA is solely responsible for reviewing, administering, licensing, and registering pesticides like glyphosate, for example, which is obviously created by Monsanto Bayer. And of course, Monsanto Bayer is in some very hot water right now, with it's something between 10 and $11 billion already in settlements and 67,000 cancer patients waiting in the wings to sue them for harm. So there has been a couple of different attempts, some at the state level, now this at the federal level. And from my understanding, my sources tell me that this is potentially phase one, but we could most likely expect to see a companion in the Farm Bill. So the idea with this bill, this rider, is to remove funding so that the EPA cannot do anything about new evidence that may come to light for another at least 10 years.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So under this body of law, pesticides are reviewed and a human health assessment is conducted once every 15 years. So the last review for glyphosate, for example, was done in 2020. It is currently the EPA's stance that glyphosate is not a risk of human health concern when used according to its label. Now that there is new scientific evidence emerging that claims otherwise, for example, there was a recent study that came out that asserts that even used at EPA labeled guidelines, glyphosate is linked to certain cancers like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So even if the EPA were to conduct a new, it's called a special review, looking at this evidence, they would not be able to use any type of funding to either restrict the use of this chemical or change the label, like adding a warning to it, for example, or cancel the pesticide license and registration for at least another 10 years when the EPA is able to do another human health assessment.
Has Lee Zeldin is he knowledgeable of this? Is he hip to this? Have you heard anything from him about this issue?
I have
it
not.
Seems like, I mean, he seems like a reformer, so I would imagine that this is something that would catch his eye.
Oh, absolutely. Carl, I don't think that Lee Zeldin would be in support of this. Honestly, you're right. I think he is a reformer and just a fantastic individual. The thing is, he really doesn't have any control. So, wow. Lee is on the executive. He's within the executive branch. He oversees the EPA, but Congress directs it and certainly directs the purse strings. Excuse me. So I think that's it. This is really up to to be perfectly honest, my sources have indicated that this section was kind of snuck in there, and like I said, it's wow. A rider. Sometimes staffers are offered a position afterwards, and we'll just leave it there. I don't believe that many of the committee members are even aware that this is sitting there or what it really means. Because honestly, when you read it, it's a paragraph and a half, and you just it's like, okay, so what's the big deal? You have to really understand the nuances of the law. So I would highly encourage people to call and give members of the Appropriations Committee their support and support them to revoke or withdraw Section 453. Just cut it out, get it out. This coming Tuesday. So Tuesday, July 22nd, will be the full Appropriations Committee hearing. My sources indicate that the bill will be coming up, that there may potentially be an amendment to get rid of Section 453. Okay.
All right. Well, listen, we'll have to leave it there. Door2freedom.org, door to
revoke or withdraw Section 453. Just cut it out, get it out. This coming Tuesday. So Tuesday, July 22nd, will be the full Appropriations Committee hearing. My sources indicate that the bill will be coming up, that there may potentially be an amendment to get rid of Section 453.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, we'll have to leave it there. Door2freedom.org, door2freedom.org.